Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the show on this Wednesday, the 12th of June, 2024. Well, Russia's doing it. They're sending these submarines and also ships. They're just off of Florida. And the United States is sending submarine hunters to converge on the Russian flotilla off of Florida right now. It says American military planes built for anti-submarine warfare flew back sorties around Florida on Tuesday as a Russian Navy flotilla sailed past the east coast of the United States. It says some loitering outside U.S. territorial waters in hours-long flights near the Florida Straits, leaving one and another to ensure non-stop surveillance of these Russian ships. Some of the operations are coming out of a naval station in Jacksonville, Florida. It says Russian Defense Ministry is sending a nuclear-powered submarine and 3 surface vessels to Havana, 100 miles off of Florida's southwest Key West. The Kremlin is demonstrating its ability to project power in the Atlantic. It remains unhampered despite the ongoing war in Ukraine. Russian warships are conducting live drills in the waters to simulate missile strikes on enemy vessels. Wow. All this is going on and nobody's batting an eye. It says Russian warships are conducting Atlantic drills en route to Cuba, and they have a new hypersonic missiles are on board. It says Russian warships conducting drills in the Atlantic. The military said Tuesday they're heading to visit Cuba. It's part of Moscow's efforts to project power. The Admiral Gorgov frigate and the Kazan nuclear-powered submarine, they're conducting military exercises intended to simulate a missile strike on a group of enemy ships. Only 320 nautical miles away, I guess. Is it from Florida? No, that's how far they're projecting their missiles or whatever. Now, what do they got on board? They're armed with Zircon hypersonic missiles. They can be used both on enemy ships and on ground targets. It says Vladimir Putin has touted that the Zircon is a potent weapon capable of penetrating any existing anti-missile defenses by flying 9 times faster than the speed of sound at a range of more than 1,000 kilometers. So it can go 620 miles. Wow. You know, I mean, what can I say? They're right in our backyard, for crying out loud. Now, look, we've had 100 years of inflation. To change the subject, guys, we've had 100 years of inflation going on. And so, what were prices like back when the Fed started all... Actually, this is not even when the Fed started all this nonsense. It's just, this was part way into it. It says, you dream of making a white picket fence reality, a new house? It would cost you approximately $6,296. This was back when? What would an apartment in New York cost? $60 a month. This is what inflation has done. Grocery items. Dozen eggs, 47 cents. Pound of round steak, 40 cents. 3 pounds of macaroni, 25 cents. Shows you. There's just like they're boiling the frog in inflation to us. We're the frog. A manicure. 25 cents for a manicure. A haircut. I'm telling you, haircuts here they're an arm and a leg now. You go in, it's like 25 bucks just for a simple 5-minute haircut. It's $5. It says, and the style at $2. So haircuts were kind of expensive back then. They're one of your more expensive things. Wedding. America's currently on average for $30,000. Back then it was around $400 for a $30,000 wedding. New radio. Now see, here's one of the things. Electronics have not went up that much, really, considering. I remember when I was a kid, you know, color television. This is why they had television repairmen, which my grandfather was a television repairman. It was because televisions were expensive back then and people had them repaired. Nowadays, they're like a Bic lighter. You just throw it away when it's empty of fluid. And that's the way with televisions now. They just throw them out. Same way with computers. But back then, electronics were one of your more expensive items. A movie ticket. 15 cents. Where can you go? It says a ticket to catch. What are they talking about here? It says ticket to catch the movie on a big screen cost 15 cents back then, which is $2.26 today. They're saying $10.95 now on average for a movie ticket. I don't think so. I think it's more like 20 bucks now to go see a movie. Vinyl records. Vinyl records were what? $1.25? Anywhere between 85 cents to $1.25 for a vinyl record back then. A washing machine cost $81.50. Yeah, but look what the washing machine looked like. You know what, though? I'm going to tell you guys something. That thing might have been ugly. But I bet you that thing would last a lifetime, especially if you took care of it, because it's the way it's put together. And this was the way of things, like cars, washing machines, everything back in those days. In fact, the washing machines, you know, right up until around the year 1985 or 1990, they last. And a lot of them are still in service, those ones that were made, like, around, say, 1995 to maybe even up to 2005, those washing machines, a lot of them are still in service. Not like the new ones. New ones are doing the same thing to the washing machines as they're doing to the cars. They're loading them with all kinds of doohickey gadgets. Temperature sensors and switches, and you can't even hardly figure out how to run the thing. And it has a mind of its own. And the electronics in it are there's so much electronics in it, so many that they're hard to work on, and they just quit at a certain point. As soon as they reach the end of your warranty. Doing the same thing with the cars. It's called planned obsolescence. It's where they've designed things now that they want them to last a specific amount of time. They don't want them to break too quick. They don't want them to last once they reach that end of warranty time. So what they do is they have people out there, factories and stuff, where they do testing. And they might say it's a switch, you know, and they'll put it on a machine that clicks the switch on and off, on and on and off. And they'll go for like maybe, say, 2,000 times. They want it to break at 2,000. If it breaks prematurely, less than 2,000 times, then they'll redesign it so it'll last up to 2,000 times. And if it starts to last too long, if it lasts 10,000 times, they'll say, well, we got to redesign it so it'll break quicker. They want it at a specific sweet spot, so it just lasts until the warranty's over. It's called planned obsolescence, and they're really doing that in the automotive industry. Now, silver today. $29.72 for silver. It's up 48 cents. I'll tell you guys, I think silver is really starting to put a floor under itself around $29. It's given the miners a bit of mining profit margin. Now, Remember back when silver was like 22 bucks, and I was telling you guys that they didn't have much of a profit margin for the miners because the all-in costs is somewhere around 20 bucks for silver. Right now, they got a fair, decent little profit margin, but that floor still exists on the price of silver in around the cost of production. But with this profit margin, this little bit of a profit margin they're getting right here, it's not going to hurt the miners. Maybe they'll say, hey, you know what? Maybe we'll open that section of the mine back up, especially if like silver price gets up to like 35 bucks, because now it's profitable again. But that being said, they didn't have the capability to mine out all the silver on Earth back in the 1800s and stuff, before the Industrial Revolution, you know. Back before the big steam shovels come along, when they had to do it with pick and axe and stuff, you know, and manual labor to dig the silver out. They weren't really touching the world's silver resources in any really meaningful way. Why we've had such huge, voluminous years of hauling a lot of silver out is all these big machines, these diesel machines and stuff, enable them to scour the earth and dig all the silver out really fast. So sure, we have a number of years where we got they're bringing in tremendous amounts of silver, enough to keep the price down. But now what's happening is countries like Mexico are saying, hey, you know what? We don't want any more open pit mining. They've already put that out there, Mexico has. But they haven't really done anything about it yet. But they've put the idea out there, hey, we don't want any more open pit mining. That alone would kill the silver industry. But on the other side of that coin, too, even with the open pit mining, and they're scouring, digging it all out as fast as they can, the ore grades. Now, ore is the stones that have silver in them. They got to take those stones, dig them out, crush them up, and extract the silver from those stones. The ore grades, the amount of silver that they get per ton is dropping. It's dropping every year now, so it means they're going to have to work harder and harder, more and more digging to get the same amount of silver as they did the year before. Meanwhile, we got the solar industry, which is just really starting to take off. They need silver for every solar panel. We've got all kinds of new industrial uses. It's a metal that its conductivity is off the charts. The only other thing that matches it in conducting electricity is gold. And gold's way more pricey, so they're going to use silver, you know. We're gonna see a steady increase in the price of silver as time goes by, especially when they start to run short of silver, because investor demand and industrial demand are just going to chomp it all up. And they're going to keep having bigger and bigger deficits every year. And it's a no-brainer in the end. The price is going to absolutely surge on this stuff. $100 is not out of the question. And eventually, even prices like, I don't know, especially if the dollar starts to hyperinflate and lose value even faster, the sky's the limit for price. If you're holding this stuff priced in US dollars. And you know, we just lost the petrodollar standard. It's a couple days ago on the 9th. You know, the Saudis are not renewing their agreement from what I understand. That's going to hit hard. That's going to take a little while to hit, but it's going to hit hard, you know. France is in big trouble right now, guys, you know. Their bond prices is going to start to climb. I'm not even touching on that on this show. We got markets to look at here. Now, Bitcoin is at 69,822. Ethereum is at 36.33. And XRP is at 49.2 cents. And taking a look at the Dow Jones today is at 38,826. It's up 78 points on the day. Taking a look at our crude oil is up $1.32 at 79.22. So it's almost up to $80 again. bonds and rates. Now here we're seeing a pretty good fall in the yields. I'm very suspicious as to who's buying all this crap. It's like buying in to a corporation that's in the red. It's the same thing. A corporation that's not only in the red, but is never going to get out of the red. Of course, they do have a printing press. And in order to keep that corporation going and not go into a default on these bonds, they're going to have to keep that printing press going in one way or the other. And that's going to cause inflation, more inflation. Inflation's going to go faster and faster, especially when it reaches a critical point. And that critical point is when people out there start to say, hey, you know what? I'm not saving in this crappy currency any longer. I'm going to go out and spend my savings, in fact, as fast as I can, because those products I'm going to buy are going to cost more next week. And they lose faith in the purchasing power of said currency. Then it really starts to move fast, the hyperinflation. And hyperinflation can move faster and faster and faster and faster. In fact, that's its nature. That's the nature of inflation. The more inflation you get, the faster the inflation goes. And there's no stopping it until they do some sort of a reset or something. But they cannot step in like halfway and do some sort of a reset, because everybody's invested in that particular currency, and that's what they use for trade. Like, say, the US dollar, for instance. They have to wait until it's pretty much dead before they can do the reset. Otherwise, they would be divesting all of the people that are invested in it. And it would just create such a snowball mountain of a mess that they have to wait. And, you know, like in Germany it was before World War II. It was the hyperinflation in Germany. They had to wait until the mark was worth like almost absolutely nothing, and then they were able to reset everything. But in that process of having the currency go to almost nothing, it just destroys the people of a country. And the Germans know what that was like during the Weimar hyperinflation. And they don't want no part of that again. The people in a country suffer so bad. But all of the fiat currencies, they've all had that happen. They always have that happen. That's almost impossible to stop. Because in reality, they're actually worth nothing. Because all they are is a slip of paper with a decree saying they have value. Now, the US dollar has lasted a long time, because as soon as they came off of the gold standard in 1971 under Nixon, they almost immediately went to a petrodollar standard. And because you could only buy oil with the US dollars, that gave the dollar a loose peg to oil. In other words, the value of oil was connected to the dollar, because that's what you used to trade oil with. But now that the Saudis have stepped away from the table, or in the process of stepping away from the table on that, the dollar becomes a fiat currency. Fiat meaning it only obtains its value because of the decree of the government. And when you take a look at the government, you're going to put your faith in them to back your currency? What a joke. Okay, guys. We're looking at the dollar going down today. 104.28, down almost a whole penny. Now, that's a big day down for the dollar. It's probably going to yield, if it continues like that, continues going down like it is right now, it's probably going to yield a rather nice day in gold and silver. You guys have a great afternoon. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe to my channel. And if you've subscribed to my channel already, hit the join button and join up. Yeah, we got a nice channel here, and you guys are great. And we've got quite a few members of the channel, and we've got a lot of subscribers who haven't joined up yet. Thank you guys, and we'll catch you guys in the next show, and have a great afternoon. Bye-bye.